Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all out there. I'm Justin B., the son of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and a recovering addict of multiple fellowships and multiple addictions and afflictions. And I'm here with my sister and the agent, the spearhead agent of God's ever-advancing creation, Nikki M. And I'm struggling this morning. Let's get going on this. Nikki, why don't you get me fired up here?
Hi, everybody. You're probably struggling because I am a lunatic this morning. Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M. And I'm a grateful member of so many fellowships, but my favorite, of course, is Rico 12, who just supports so many projects of the entire universe. Like we have our roundtable, we have this Noodle Out with Nikki, and these resources, everybody, they're so helpful to me and Justin, and we learn so much on these things, but they're here for you. And they're also here for you to send out to the people you love. So please utilize these resources, give your seventh so we can stay up and in God's business, because alcoholism is an intergenerational family disease, Justin. And you know what? I want to make sure that your grandbabies, my future ones, don't have to suffer like we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki, and I appreciate that. And to anybody out there who's like, well, how do I donate a seventh? How do I do that? There's details in the show notes of the podcast. You can also go to reco12.com. That's RECO12.com and find out how to do that there. Thank you for any donations and even for just sharing this. Word of mouth is every bit as powerful as financial donations. So very good. What we do here in the Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast is we take questions or situations that we encounter in our recovery life with those that we're working with people who are in different WhatsApp groups or whatever with us, and we take them to the Big Book. And I ask a question, Nikki noodles us through the Big Book page by page, and we just learn the solution to pretty much any problem we may ever encounter in life, not just in recovery, but in life. And Nikki, last week that we recorded, we went through 12 signs of sex and love addiction. And we went through each of those things and kind of noodled through them, did a little bit of cross-referencing into the Big Book. Today, what I'd like to do is go through the 12 signs of recovery in SLAA. And I've posted those here in the chat so we can both read along with them. But why don't we see what we can learn about, hey, am I in recovery or am I still in active addiction? So, Nikki, why don't you walk us through those and we'll kind of bounce back and forth with this.
Well, could you put them in the chat? Because I don't see them. And I went to try and look for him myself, and you're my tech guy. Justin, everybody, he's not only my brother, he is like my producer. He is my friend. He is everything but my husband. And I'm grateful for the wife you have. You do a wonderful job, Heather. Thank you for being his wife. Now, let's get into this because both of these two, my partner here and his wife, they are experiencing the signs of recovery. Aren't you? Like, I mean, this is real big. And we talked about last week the characteristics of a sex and love addict. And I dare to say that love addiction is the primary addiction for everybody. I'm just going to dare to say it. Like, you may be an alcoholic and your disease manifests. Where does it say that, Nikki? Well, it says on page 22 that our behavior patterns vary. So Justin's alcoholism manifested in this, let's say, sex and love addiction. And I always throw love in there, not just sex, because we will exchange sex for love. So some of you may say, Nikki, I've only had sex with one person, and I'm not really a sex addict, but you've exchanged love for sex. And that's how that looks. But let's get into the signs of recovery. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, go back and listen to that. And here we are, because these are the promises. And this is true. Like, if you're in a 12-step program, number one, I'm going to beg you. And it does say for us to beg you. It says that on page, let's read it real quick, because we do have our big book here too, Justin. And it's on page 59. And it says right here, where is it? Yeah, it does. It says, at some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. That means you're beyond human aid. That means if last week you found you identified with the characteristics of a sex and love addict and you've tried everything to get better, here it is. With all the earnestness, which means with a sincere conviction, with intense, and I'm very earnest, conviction, at our command, Justin and I are going to beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start, because we want these promises to come true. So we seek, number one, a sign of recovery. If you're not doing this, then you're not in recovery. We are recovering from what? A seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, daily reprieve from the addiction. So number one, we seek to develop a daily relationship with a higher power, knowing we are not alone in our efforts to heal ourselves from our addictions. Now, you know where that took me to instantly, Justin? And we'll noodle back and forth, please. I can't, I do a Facebook Live, and for 1 hour, I'm just talking to myself in the camera. That's why I love having you here, because I can talk to you. Page 29, each individual in their personal stories. We are in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are looking at the signs of recovery, which you can find on the SLAA website. But we're in our big book, page 29, which says each individual in their personal stories describes in their own language, from their own point of view, the way she established her relationship with God. So that's what I'm doing every day, Justin. I'm seeking to develop a daily relationship with God. So if you print out the signs of recovery, your line out on that could say page 29. That's what this whole program is about, Justin. Seeking a relationship with God. Talk to me.
Yeah, and thank you, Nikki. And where that takes me is basically to page 86. When we retire at night, on a sleepening, and then the next paragraph, on awakening. This is something that I do every day to develop and increase that relationship with a higher power. Is when I retire at night, I go through and constructively things. I have a prayer. I do those things as we read there in that paragraph when we retire at night, and in the morning on awakening, we think about the day ahead and we ask God. It's this. I mean, we're just asking to understand that power better and better each and every day. And that's a definite sign of recovery for me, is if I'm doing that. And if I'm not, I'm slipping back. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah, I love that. We'll just bounce this back like this, because here it is. Number two, we are willing to be vulnerable, because the capacity to trust has been restored to us by our faith in a higher power. Well, you know what? That takes me to the promise in step 10. Let me just get there. Here it is. For by this time, sanity will have returned. See, that's a step 2 fulfilled promise, because it says, step 2 says, we came to believe. That's a process, not an event. We come to believe that a power, no one's looking for God, we're looking for power greater than ourself, could restore us to sanity. And so now the signs of recovery is that we're willing to be honest, vulnerable, open-minded, because we trust, we believe that a power can restore us to sanity. And by step 10, if you work this every day, you work all 12 steps, you've gone through steps 1 through 9, for this time, sanity has returned, right? And we'll seldom be interested because we have the capacity to trust, to believe, our faith in this power. Justin?
Yeah, and that takes me to, you're going to have to find the page for me, Nikki, and say what that is. But it's basically one alcoholic working with another, sharing experience, strength, and hope. Before, if I'm not in recovery, if I am in active addiction, there is next to zero chance that I'm going to be willing to vulnerably share my story with another person. But if I'm in recovery, I'm going to be willing, as the opportunity presents itself with the right person at the right time in the right place, to share my story with trust that I'm not going to get harmed by this person. Now, there are people that absolutely would turn my story around and harm me. So I've got to be connected. Sign number 1, connected with that higher power, so that I know if this is a safe person that I can be vulnerable with, and not do it with fear, because I trust that things are going to work out. I will be used as I will be helpful to this other person by sharing my story. And that's my thoughts on it.
And there's lots of page numbers, Justin. So, don't worry about that on this episode, because as you said a bunch. You're like, page 74, I need to talk to the right person so they understand what I'm driving at. When all other measures fail, page 15, work with another addict would save the day. In the doctor's opinion, the broker, Bill W., worked hard with many addicts on the theory that only another addict could save themselves. So it's just all over the book. There's an entire chapter called Working with Others. The third sign of being recovered, these are the signs of recovering from sex and love addiction, is that we surrender one day at a time our whole life strategy of and our obsession with the pursuit of romantic and sexual intrigue and emotional dependency. So that's where Justin took us. I think it's page 86 or 88 when it's 86, I think, where it's like, upon awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. That is your just for today, one day at a time. We surrender. That is page 63. We make a daily decision to abandon our lives to a power greater than ourselves. The pursuit of romantic and sexual and the obsession with this, we get a daily reprieve. It's no longer there. Why? Well, we just talked about it in the previous one. We're looking for a relationship with God. That's the most important. We've been restored to sanity. And I think the most important thing in this is one day at a time, our whole life strategy. That's huge, eh, Justin? Like really going just for today. And I like to talk about my friend Crackhead Carl. He hasn't been around in a while. He got a girlfriend, and that's cool. But he always says to me, "What's missing in this moment, Nikki?" And he does this, weird position with his finger in the air, like a old stoic walking around Rome. And then he turns his head and looks at me and says nothing. And Justin, right now in this moment,
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
There's nothing missing. There's even sun in my country today. Go on. Let me hear from you.
Yeah, and to me, what I see here is, giving up this. If my whole life strategy and my obsession is trying to find a romantic or sexual relationship with emotional dependency, I'm sick. I am not well if that is my whole life goal. Even if I think it's for a healthy reason. Hey, it's good to have connection with somebody that I love. Yes, but if it's my obsession, it's not going to happen. In fact, it reminds me of like I went to a sales training once to try to learn to be a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. That's just not my thing. But they talked about, if you're desperate for a sale, you'll never get a sale because people smell it on you. They smell that desperation on you. And it's the same thing with a relationship. If I'm desperate for a relationship, I will not get a meaningful relationship. Sure, I might get a one-night stand here or there, but that is not going to fix the problem. So that's my thoughts on that.
I love that. And yes, everybody, Justin is everything but a salesperson. He's too nice. He's literally that guy. So number 4 says this: we learn to avoid situations that put us at risk physically, morally, that's psychology, or spiritually. I'm not good with those psych words. And I want to go deeper on that one: physically, morally, and spiritually, and psychology, or
psychologically. Yeah.
Thank you, Justin. I need you psychologically. Here it is, Justin. Not only do you learn to do that for yourself, but you have learned to do that for your family. You avoid that for Heather, for your children, and our grandbabies. And where is that in the big book, everybody? That's on page 101. Therefore, see, we can roll to page 100, Justin, where we assuming we're spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things that sex and love addicts aren't supposed to do. But if we roll our eyes to page 101, we just ask ourselves, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to that place? Or am I expecting to steal some vicarious pleasure? Those are just two, should I be there? Should I not? Yes or no, black and white. God is everything or God is nothing. And that's really number 4. We know, Justin and I know, we don't need to go there. That's not helpful. But we also know, do we need to go there? Yeah, we do. Our family's getting married. There's going to be all these gorgeous people. There's an open bar. But we're spiritually fit. We can be there. And we might even put a start and stop time on it because we don't need to be there till the wee hours of the night. We get discernment in this program, Justin. You avoid situations for your whole family. I know.
Yeah, and I love as we go down the page there on page 101. So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking if we have a legitimate reason for being there. And I think that's important. The if there. Now, like you said, Nikki, if there is a legitimate reason for me going to that wedding, or going to the beach, or going, whatever it may be, whatever that may be, if I'm in fit spiritual condition, I go. If I'm not, I don't. And that has to be the filter that I do this. We learn to avoid situations that may put us at risk. Well, if I'm in spiritual fit condition and it's a good reason, I can go. If not, and if while I'm there, I suddenly find myself in a place that I'm not in spiritually fit condition, I need to be willing to get out of there and say, you know what, I got to leave. Good to see you guys. I'm out of here. So that's my take on it.
Live, real-time experience, strength, and hope, Justin. I have canceled my 2:00 appointment today because I'm not spiritually fit for this person. I know this person. I'm already upset with this person. We were going to have a conversation at 2:00. I'm not spiritually fit to speak to this person today. I can be here. I have a lot of things to do, and it's okay to say not today. And this is the good thing about recovery. I'm not scared. I'm not shrieking. I'm not, what's going to happen? Is she going to be upset? Nope, that's the way it is. And I don't care what the results are. I'm armed with the facts about myself. I'm avoiding a situation that can put me at risk. 5, we learn to accept and love ourselves. Wow, that's a huge one. And take responsibility for our own lives and to take care for our own needs before involving ourselves with others. That's the example. I'm taking care of myself today rather than worrying about what this person, and they're not well and they need my help. But the reality of it is they don't need my help. They've got the big book. They've got our recordings. If they needed it that much, they would have come to the Noodle meeting at 9 a.m. this morning. So there it is. And where does that match up in our big book? I think this is the biggest promise for a sex and love addict. This is the biggest problem. Drum roll, please, or my harp chime in. Here we go. Page 75. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. We learn to accept, love ourselves, and take responsibility for our own lives and take care of our own needs before involving ourselves with others. If I can't be at perfect peace and ease alone, what the am I doing around other people, Justin? Come in. This is a big one.
Yeah, this is a big one. And I'm going to push back here, putting myself in the shoes of somebody who may be a little bit defensive at this and maybe trying to throw big book knowledge at us. But the big book says I need to be helpful. I need to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and others. I can't say no. I can't say, hey, I need to take care of myself because the big book tells me otherwise. Nikki, speak some wisdom here to me.
Well, you've heard the saying, it says, see where religious people are right, and you can't give from an empty cup. So if you don't love yourself, now go deeper, friend. You want to push back? I'll give you some pushback. Page 83, the spiritual life is not a theory. You have to live it. And if you get deep enough into the spirit life, my friend who wants to give me pushback, I'm you and you're me. So until you love you, I can't love you. Until I love me, you can't love me. This is spirit world stuff. It's out of the big book. It's even outside of any books. It's called Justin, I want to say it's page 86. Don't quote me on it, anybody. It's the sixth sense. It's that sixth sense. So you can't give pushback because it's the sixth sense. We're just learning about the 8th, the 9th, the 12th set. So let's just say what the book says. Perfect peace and ease alone. And once you get there, think about that, Mr. Pushback, Mrs. Pushback. If you are at perfect peace and ease alone, why do you need anything else? And if everybody lives that way at perfect peace, and then when we come together, all we do is just love each other. That's what the book's about anyway, recapturing the ability to love, altruistic love, agape love. How's that, Mr. Pushback?
That's great. It helped me a ton. Let's go to number 6.
Okay. We become willing to ask for help. Wow. And allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, learning to trust and accept others. Why? That just takes me to page 58, 59, Justin, as I'm in the middle of a hot flash going, okay, come on, sweaty hands, open that book. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it's too much for us. See, we are armed with the facts, page 18. We become willing every day. That's really step 6, isn't it, Justin? We become willing every day to ask God the spiritual principles. Sometimes we need to ask each other for help. That's a step 6 thing, I would say, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. See, today when I got on Noodle, Justin, I was out of my mind. I cried very first thing because this person just sent me into outer space and I didn't have a moment to calm down before I got in front of the camera. So I had to let all the emotions out and everyone saw me vulnerable. And you know what? I saw as we were closing out in the chat, because I can't really get into the chat, but you see things fly up. It just said, that was a great meeting. You see, as I was willing to come on and be vulnerable for everybody, and it helps somebody. So that's a step 6 thing. And that's a real page 417 acceptance. What do you think?
Yeah, this one to me, when we first read number 6, I was like, isn't that the same as the second one we read? But it's not quite. The second one, I'm willing to be vulnerable because I trust in a higher power. This one is I'm willing to ask for help from others, can be higher power or others, allowing myself to be vulnerable and learning to trust and accept others. First one is I trust in higher power. This one is I'm willing to learn to trust and accept others. But that concept of willing to ask for help, that is what kept me out of the rooms for decades. I was not willing to ask for help. I got myself into this mess. I have to get myself out of this mess. It's my business. Nobody else needs to know anything about this, and I need to take care of it myself because it's none ya business. But that self-sufficiency and unwillingness to trust and be vulnerable is what kept me sick for decades. And I love this concept and the second one and the sixth one and how they differ. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Nikki?
As you said that, I think that's a real promise for our David G. And he's so busy, I don't even think he has a chance to listen to anything we say. We're lucky we get him at the table. But that's him. That's a big promise for our David G, because, he was sober for 25 years in the rooms and didn't ask for help in other areas. And now he's very willing to ask for help, and he's very vulnerable. So I'm going to attach that to our David G. So number 7, we allow ourselves to work through the pain.
Hey, Nikki, I have a proposal here. So we're coming up on about not quite a half hour of recording, and we still have 6 of these to go. What do you say we split this into 2 episodes? Are you okay with that, or do you want to run?
I love that. So you want to pause right there and go to the next 6, next one?
Yeah, so why don't we pause here and wrap this up? So I'll edit this a little bit.
Yeah, can you just do however you want? Recap this little part, and then we'll go in, because these promises, and even if you don't edit this part, people can hear the roughness of us and just the rawness of us. I love it, and how just ideas pop in, and these are the promises, you guys. So if these first 6 promises are not coming true before next week's episode, why don't you go back and see what we've talked about, what you're missing, the direction you might have heard that, well, I'm not even asking for help. That's a huge one. Like, I'm not trying to develop a relationship with God because I'm too busy trying to develop a relationship with that water cooler guy that I see every Monday morning. So yeah, I think that's a great place to stop, because we don't go deep enough into these promises, Justin, and they're coming true for me on a daily basis. I mean, sometimes, it takes a little longer in the day because something happens and I get a hiccup. But yeah, let's do that for next week. I just love this, Justin.
Yeah. So everybody, come back next week as we continue this journey into the next 6. So 7 through 12 of these signs of recovery. Thank you for joining us for these first 6. And as Nikki said, these promises will be made manifest, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will manifest if we work for them. So keep working at this, because you're worth it, and we'll see you back next week with the next 6.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.